presentation from two candidates, a 15-minute introduction from these two Republican candidates running for county treasurer. They'll be running in a primary, which will be on August 6th. Thank you. August 6th. We have Caleb Gordon and Stacy Driscoll here tonight. We'll hear from Stacy first, and then we'll hear from Caleb next. They'll give about a 15-minute presentation each. And then they'll come up here and sit down, and then we'll have a Q&A for both of them. I'll ask a couple of general questions, and then I'll open it up to the audience. Based on time, we'll fill that time with the remainder of the time we have left. So, and this was so large I had to go to 2 pages. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to present Stacy Driscoll.
It's gotta be like this.
I can handle that.
Right.
Good evening. I wanted to thank Jerry and the Leavenworth County GOP for inviting me to speak tonight. I'm Stacy Driscoll, and I'm running for the Leavenworth County Treasurer's Office. I am a Leavenworth County native, married to Bill for 38 years. I have a daughter, a son-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. The County Treasurer's Office is responsible for the collection of real estate, personal property, and motor vehicle taxes, special assessments, and other miscellaneous taxes, and the distribution of local tax money for state, county, cities, schools, and other taxing entities for Leavenworth County. In addition, the treasurer serves as an agent for the state of Kansas and is responsible for the title and registration application of motor vehicles, driver's license renewals, and performs the function of a bank for all revenue-generating county departments. The county treasurer's office also has a tax escrow program. This is something that never really gets talked about. It allows taxpayers to make monthly payments towards their tax bills, and the office takes care of paying them when they come due on December 20th and May 10th of the next year. The county treasurer also assists in tax foreclosures that are normally held once a year for the collection of unpaid real estate taxes. This is something I have assisted in the past 2 years, along with the attorney for the county. I have been in customer service my whole working career. 15 years in the abstract and title industry, 20 plus years as the former elected register of deeds, 2 years in the county treasurer's office, and currently a licensed real estate agent. As you can tell, I'm a people person. I enjoy working with others. Every job I've had involves people, providing assistance, resolving complaints, and answering questions. I bring a wealth of knowledge to this office. My prior years as an elected official, I always maintained a conservative budget, treated my employees with respect and dignity, never had high turnover, and worked well with the other elected officials and department heads to achieve goals that were in the best interest of the taxpayers. I know there have been concerns as to whether I'm a conservative Republican. I served over 20 years as a Democrat as the former Register of Deeds, and over time, my political views have changed, aligning more closely with the Republican Party values, which is why my conscience leads me here today. I know there are Republicans here tonight that were Democrats at one time. My family is here tonight. My parents have changed, they're Republicans. Some of you may not know me on a personal level or how I interact with people in the community. Let me give you a few examples of what I do. While working in the treasurer's office as an employee, I had a citizen reach out to me wanting to apply for a tax exemption for a non-for-profit organization. And she wanted to know what she needed to do. I said, I can help you with that. I went to the county appraiser's office, I got the forms, and wrote down some information that, things that she'll have to gather for it. And I dropped the stuff off to her house on my way home from work. They came back in a week later, and she wanted me to look over all the paperwork to make sure she had everything for the exemption. And I said, well, let's go up and visit Bob Weber, the appraiser, and make sure that, he can go over it and make sure you have everything you need. And Bob looked everything over, and, he said he'd review it and send it to the state. So, those are things that I do. Another something that I do is I had a gentleman call that served on a homes association board for his subdivision. And he had been trying to deal with getting the common areas, it had multiple tax IDs. And he was wanting to reduce it down to one tax ID for all these multiple, all these common areas. And I said, I think I can help you with that. So I said, I'm gonna have to contact the city, and I'm gonna have to contact the GIS department, and we'll see what we can, help get done here. And so within one day, I told him it would take a couple of days. Within one day, this was achieved. It's the little things you do for people that mean a lot to them. Both what I just explained to you have nothing really to do with the county treasurer's office. I had the knowledge and the willingness to help. Knowing how other county offices work and what they do is very crucial in these county elected positions. I will be a working elected official working side by side with my employees. I won't be sitting in the office reclined back in a chair with my feet up on the desk. I can assure you of that. I hope Leavenworth County citizens will support me, as many of you know me. I'm blessed and thankful to be a part of this community. And again, thank you for inviting me.
Next we'll have Caleb Gordon.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. As your current county treasurer, it's a pleasure to speak with you this evening. Some of you may know, may not know, my wife Becky and I have lived in Leavenworth with our 6 children for 6 years. Our family, we're very involved in our family and church. Actually, the most important things to us are our family and our church. We're very involved in our local church. I currently became the leader of the men's group for our church, and I also teach 5- and 6-year-olds at the local Trail Life in Leavenworth. So I'm going to start by letting you know some of the things I've accomplished in my first 3 long months as treasurer, and some things that I have that I would like to do going forward. Right at the outset, we lost our chief deputy, a very, very, very high-paid chief deputy. I made the decision to promote some people and not backfill that position. I figured out pretty quick that we could get the same amount of work done without spending the extra money to replace that position. I also unfortunately had to let someone go at the annex that just wasn't going to work out. And more recently, I eliminated an overpaid and unnecessary position. All of that combined is about $150,000, and that's not including benefits or employer taxes. Now, I'm right now in the process of hiring a clerk, because we really do need a clerk, and that's a entry-level position, so that's a smaller amount of money. But even with hiring a new clerk and giving promotions, and I gave some raises to some clerks that have been overlooked and did a fantastic job and desperately needed, they earned their raises. But even outside of doing that, we're still looking at $100,000 a year in payroll savings, and I don't think that's an insignificant amount. My first week in office, the DirecTV bill came across my desk. At first, I was a little puzzled. I was like, we have DirecTV? Turns out it was a TV at the annex that was being used for people to entertain themselves watching the news for a few minutes while they waited in the lobby. I decided that was not a good use of taxpayer money. We got rid of that, and that saved the county another $1,200 a year. In January, March, we got the tax distributions out on schedule. I don't know if she explained that, but we bring the money in, and then about 5 or 6 times a year, the treasurer doles that money out or distributes it, so all the entities such as the schools, the cities, townships, fire departments, et cetera, et cetera. It's fairly complicated. It's percentages, but that is something that absolutely has to happen. It's statutorily required by the treasurer. We got that accomplished, and I'm currently sending out, actually I mailed out today the 2025 estimates for next year's taxes for those same entities. Let's see, on the changes I'm gonna make going forward, historically, the tax distributions have went out via check in the mail. Starting in the May distribution, I'm gonna switch that all over to ACH payments. First of all, it is more efficient. The money goes in the bank immediately. Second of all, it's more secure. We don't have to worry about the check getting lost in the mail. And third of all, it's gonna save the county money, which is what we wanna do. I'm also talking with the bank right now about implementing some systems that they now have with new technology to help prevent or identify fraud on the backside at the bank level. So it gives another layer of protection to the taxpayers' money on the banking side. We're also talking about implementing a new credit card system, which would once again save the taxpayers more money. In February, I attended it's a long word, the Kansas County Treasurers Association Legislative Conference. And then also in March, I attended the Kansas Association of Counties budgeting class. Let's see, very soon, I am actually going to be presenting to the Board of County Commissioners a request to audit my office. Some of you know, some of you may not know, the $10,000 at least was taken out of the Treasurer's office in 2019. I spoke with the accounting firm that audited that. As near as I can tell, they stopped counting at 10,000. There was never any indictments, and it was never really put to rest. So I want to go back and revisit that because I think the county deserves to know what happened and how much of their money's gone. I also would like to look at some other audits in the future. Obviously, I can't do all of this in a half a term. It's going to require me getting re-elected to really verify the health of the Treasurer's office and make sure that all the money's accounted for. One thing that I am not is a career politician. I'm coming from the private sector. In the private sector, when there's money left over at the end of the year, that's called profit, and that's primarily the goal in business. From what I've seen, generally government entities, when you give them a budget, they figure out a way to spend every single dime of that by the end of the year.
Yep.
Now, I can't necessarily call money that I save out of my budget profit because we didn't earn it and it's your money. But I still think that it's a good thing that money's left over at the end of the year. We don't need to spend that entire budget. Let's see, lose my place here. So anyway, I'm looking for ways. I'm running the office like a business because I came from the private sector, and I'm looking for ways to spend money. Even if it's small amounts of money, all those small amounts of money add up, and they add up to something, and that's money that can be used for other things. Like, it doesn't need to just get eaten away in the treasurer's office by unnecessary spending. I did not recently decide that I was Republican. I was thinking about it, and my entire extended family, and going back at least 3 generations, I cannot think of a single Democrat. I come from a long line of Christian conservatives. As a matter of fact, when I was in my early 20s, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh in my car at lunch. I got hooked. I loved Rush. I listened to Rush for years, except for one presidency where I just could not tolerate listening to him any further. But I came up with an idea early in my listening to Rush, and I always wanted to call into his radio show and tell him because I think he really appreciated it. Unfortunately, I never got the chance, but I actually wanted to add Rush's likeness to Mount Rushmore and rename it Mount Rush and More. Yeah? I'm telling you, it's brilliant. Rush was truly an American treasure and is dearly missed. But seriously, I'm diametrically opposed to everything that the Democrats believe in and promote. I am pro-Second Amendment to the core, I'm pro-police, I am pro-border control, I am a strict constitutional conservative. Most importantly, I am pro-life. I'm in fact so pro-life that the local Sparrow Clinic here in town is gearing up to elect me as a new board member and treasurer. Treasurer, of course. Now here recently I was at something and there was a treasurer from another county in Kansas, and they asked the question, what does it matter if the treasurer is pro-life? Like, what does it have to do with anything? Who cares if the treasurer is pro-life? Well, I'm going to answer that question. If you champion a woman killing her own child in her womb, there is no moral jump from that to lying, deceit, and theft. But if you understand that life in the womb was created in the image of God and has incalculable value, that is a pretty good place to start for a character of honesty and respect and compassion. And along the lines of compassion, I honestly don't like to talk about myself. I like to just do my thing, and I don't go around saying, hey, look at me, but I will tell you a quick story about something that happened in the courthouse, just so you can understand my character and the person I am and what I bring to the courthouse. One day I was walking out of my office to the restroom, and I looked to my left, and I noticed that there was a lady sitting on the bench she was crying. And I immediately walked over to her and I said, ma'am, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Turns out her husband had just recently been tragically killed, and I sat there for 15 minutes and I talked to her, and I finally said, ma'am, can I pray for you? And she said, oh my gosh, that'd be wonderful. So I sat right there and asked for God to give her peace. And I have a character of honesty and compassion, and I feel like I bring something that is really lost in the culture today. We just don't have a whole lot of that anymore. And it's not all about the spreadsheets, and it's not all about the budgets, and there's just more to it than that. I truly care about every person that walks into the courthouse, including my staff. I have a wonderful staff. I recently received 2 emails. One was from a military officer and one was from a private citizen. And they were both talking about how our staff members just went above and beyond to help them with their situation. And I don't know, if you've been alive for very long and you've been to any government offices, you know that above and beyond is probably not what you were thinking. But in our office, these people are just fantastic. Every day I see them just literally going out of their way to help people. They answer the phone nice. They're just a wonderful staff, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate them. On Valentine's Day, I was going out of town to go to a conference, and I actually went up to the courthouse the night before, really late, and I made a sticker with each employee's name, and I put it on a box of chocolates, and I put it on all their desks. And the next morning on my way to Topeka, I stopped at the annex and I did the same thing. Because I strive for them to understand that I appreciate them and that they're doing a good job, and they're fantastic. I just can't say how fantastic they are. So what about the elections? The elections this year. I'm always hearing from conservatives how everybody wants a true conservative in office. We absolutely need people who are true conservatives that believe in our values to take these offices and fill these positions. I know that there's at least one city councilman around here somewhere that's been in office for 20 years. That's long enough. It's time to move on. We need new people that hold our Republican conservative values in these offices. Topeka, Washington, local city councils, school boards, and I would like to submit that school board elections are possibly more important than the presidential election. We are losing a generation in these schools to liberal indoctrination, and we are going to lose our country if we don't get people elected with some common sense. It's a war that we have to fight and we have to win. But point by point by point, I am a conservative. I am the kind of conservative that everybody says that they want in these offices to serve in these positions. So I would be more than happy to have your vote in August. I've enjoyed what I'm doing so far. If anybody would like a sign, just talk to me afterwards. And I look forward to serving you another 4 years as county treasurer. Thank you.
Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and then I'll open it up to the audience, okay? To ask you questions, both of them will answer the question, and then we'll move on. Okay, candidates, what strategies do you have in mind to optimize revenue collection for the county while also minimizing the burden on the taxpayer?
That question's actually a little difficult because the treasurer is bound by state statutes. And we really don't set policy, we basically collect the money and then the statutes tell us how we distribute it. Now there's actually 3 budgets that the treasurer has. One's the general budget, and that is approved by the county commissioners. So we have to defend and submit that budget, and then the county commissioners approve it. There's another budget that's a tech fund, and it is supposed to be used for technology stuff, although I see a lot of payroll getting put in that, which I don't really understand. It's actually in mine right now, and it's something I want to work to get that out of that budget. It has no place in there. There's a third budget that's called motor vehicle special. Now, the treasurer has 100% control over that budget, but the money in that budget comes from motor vehicle. And one of the places that that money comes from is that pesky $5 fee that everybody hates. That fee was $1 and it was raised to $5. $5 is the maximum amount that a treasurer can charge that fee. Currently, that money is pretty spent, and I'm looking how I can lower that so we don't need $5 fee. It's a difficult question, and I've only been 3 months, and some of this stuff is really gonna take some time to dig into and see where all this money is allocated and where it's going and how we can correct those issues. Pass it on.
Please.
Yes, so there are a couple areas that we collect revenue in the treasurer's office. One of them being the collection of escrows. We charge $15 per year, and currently we only collect escrows for real estate taxes. I would like to change that to include personal property taxes. We have a lot of people out there that have mobile homes, and that's considered personal property. And they complain about not being able to be in the escrow system. But it's, it's more money that can be collected. It's only $15 a year, but still it's money. And the $5 facility fee. So, that money, I know a lot of people complain about it, but that generates about a couple $100,000 a year. And that money is to be used for salaries for the motor vehicle employees. And if we didn't have that fee, we would have to lay off people, or the general fund would have to pick up that money. So, those are things that you have to think about. And, let's see. I forgot what I was gonna say. The last couple years, there has not been able to be any money transferred over to the Board of County Commissioners. And normally with that fund, when, at the end of the year, if there's any money left over, it's to be transferred over to the Board of County Commissioners. So, I know Caleb talks about hiring one county clerk, or one clerk's position. I was told there was gonna be 2 clerk positions he was hiring. And then there's been, $40,000 in pay increases since January. So if the funds are ready to where we can't, contribute, any leftover funds to the Board of County Commissioners to help out the county, county. I don't know how we're gonna pay for, you know, additional clerks and the increases. And, you know, is it gonna get to a point where the general fund is gonna have to start contributing more?
Okay, thank you. Next question. How do you intend to address any existing financial challenges or inefficiencies within the county's financial system or the office? And what experience do you bring to this task?
For the most part, the office is pretty efficient. A lot of it boils down to labor costs. There are other areas. So there's white envelopes and there's colored envelopes. You know the envelopes that they give you that you put in your car? Well, a lot of people like the colored envelopes because they can find them in their glove box. Those are very expensive. Personally, I'd rather buy the white envelope, save money, and you can color your envelope if you want to color it, you know. There are things that we can do to tighten things up. It's just, it boils down to doing a lot of research and finding out if we can, stuff like that, we just need to save money. There's always places that you can save money. Always. You just have to look.
So I think about when COVID happened. And when I was the Register of Deeds, there were challenges for people. One of them being the abstract and title companies. The abstract and title companies were not able to search the district court records. And there's a state, you know, system that the district court records could be searched from. But it was not current and it was not up to date. I had the local district court on my terminals, my public terminals in the back office. But the problem was the county was shut down and the public could not come into the courthouse. And so that created a problem because of the district court, that the abstractors were not able to access that. So my staff and I, we assisted the title companies in researching the court cases and helping them, you know, with whatever they needed from those court cases. I had access to it. I had the knowledge. I knew what I was looking for because that's what I did for 15 years in the abstract and title business. So we got them through that. But without this happening, without us helping, this would have hurt the bankers, the title companies, the realtors. They wouldn't be able to close their transactions. The banks wouldn't be able to give loans for refinances and purchases. But with the help that we did, you know, they were able to carry on and keep the economy growing. And so that's, you know, when I think of challenges, you know, that was one of the challenges that we had to deal with, so.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you leave it with Stacy?
What I'd like to do is open it up to the audience for a few questions. Anybody? Dana? Let me bring the microphone to you so that.
I just think I talk loud.
No.
Oh, is it doing?
There.
Oh. Stacy, okay. What was the thing that caused you to change your mind about the Democrat Party and decide that you wanted to become a Republican?
So I held the office as the Register of Deeds as a Democrat. I never had any opposition. You know, way back years ago when I registered to vote at an early age, my grandparents, my whole family, my grandparents wanted us all to, you know, be Democrats. And, you know, over the years, you know, I just, you know, have had change of heart. It's like, you know, I have different values than I did back then. So, did that answer it?
No, I wanted specifics, if possible. Anything that really bugged you.
Oh, well, yes, I can tell you that. The border patrol, you know, what's going on there. I'm not, you know, I mean, less government is better. So I just, you know, feel like things that have been going on. That,
All the spending that's going on.
yes, the spending is out of control.
Agencies he's bringing in.
Yeah, it's out of control, the spending.
This is, can you hear me?
No.
Just both of you, and this is just something I think is important, at least, from what I've seen over the years historically. What do you think, and this is to both of you, each one, what do you think of constitutional biblical money versus what we have right now? Do you understand my drift? Let me help you.
Give me a little more info.
What
Yeah.
do you think of constitutional and biblical money versus the Federal Reserve note? We call it the dollar. And I'm talking gold and silver versus what we have now. Am I making sense? Y'all don't follow this? I think it's an important big deal. Anyway, I can explain why.
I mean, since we went off the gold standard, basically what we have is fiat currency. We are checked the other day, I think we're at $34 trillion in debt. That's unsustainable.
And
We're-
growing.
And growing daily. If you look up the debt clock, it will scare you. There's other countries that are going back to the gold standard. They're gonna have we can't compete. There isn't enough gold to pay our debt. And honestly, we're in so deep now that I don't know if anybody can fix it. It's a little scary, but we're in deep. Like, people have kept electing basically terrible people to office for at least the last 75 years, and they brought us to where we're at. And you can have an election, you can have one good guy, you can have one guy that knows what he's gonna do, and people will vote for the guy that's gonna raise the taxes and spend more money. And I mean, when you look at how much our debt's increased just since Obama came in, it's mind-boggling. And I don't know if there's an answer, to be honest. We're in deeper than deep. I don't even know if Trump can fix it, but that'd be a good start.
Stacy?
Well, I probably will pass on that.
Question?
I have a question relating to the job. Caleb, since you're the existing treasurer, if you could answer, how do you calculate real estate taxes?
How do I calculate real estate taxes?
Yes, real estate taxes that I get on my property, how do you calculate them?
I don't calculate real estate taxes, my staff does that. What I do is a different part of the job. So the AS400 computer is what basically does the calculations. A lot of that stuff comes over from the clerk's office. So when I do my tax distributions, I'm getting reams of paper from the clerk's office with all the numbers on them, and then I'm spending hours upon hours, literally upon hours, entering those into spreadsheets. And once all those numbers are entered into the spreadsheets and everything balances and everything is perfect, then we cut the distribution checks. And then I personally stuff the spreadsheets and the distribution checks into envelopes, and those go in the mail. What a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot more going on in the treasurer's office than just real estate. The motor vehicle side is huge. There's a lot of moving parts on the motor vehicle side. I've actually spent some time sitting with the front clerks, watching what they do and learning how to do the motor vehicle side, because it is important as the treasurer to know every single thing. I've currently been in there for 3 months. I'm not a real estate agent. I don't do real estate, but there's nothing in that office that's not learnable. But there's a lot more going on in that office than real estate, I promise you. On the business side, there's constant money coming in and money going out and money going into the bank. There's investments. There's a lot more going on there than real estate, I promise you.
Given your experience so far and your experience with your learning curve, at what point do you feel you had to project and said, okay, I'm pretty comfortable now. I think I've got a grip on what this is, and I can start to see some efficiencies and changes.
Historically,
Microphone. This microphone.
oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Historically, I've talked to several people, and I've also talked to people in the Kansas Association of Treasurers who have started the treasury position knowing absolutely nothing. It's actually not uncommon throughout the entire state. There's several people who've been sending emails out lately that they're brand new treasurers. They're starting from ground zero. They've done nothing. From who I've talked to, it generally takes about a year to be really comfortable with the office, because I can't really explain how much there is and how complicated it is. It's not, nobody is gonna walk in there. I mean, she may know real estate, but she doesn't know anything about motor vehicles. She doesn't know anything about distributions. Like, she's gonna be at the same level walking in knowing only real estate, because that is a very, very small portion of the job. So typically, I think it takes people about a year to just get comfortable.
Okay, okay. Did you want to answer her question?
I was just gonna say, Nancy, would you like me to, is this on?
Yeah.
Would you like me to answer the question about how we determine what?
I would love for you to do that, but I'd also like for you to respond to that.
Okay. So, like if your taxes are $5,000, how is that calculated? It's the mill levy times the assessed value divided by 1,000. That's a common question that when customers call, they wanna know, like if they have their, they protested their property taxes and they got it reduced, and they're like, well, can you tell me what, my property taxes are gonna be? Well, that's the figure we have to use to determine that. And we use that quite often.
I'll answer that too. I'd say about 99% of those phone calls go to the staff. So we have one side of the office that's motor vehicle, they know motor vehicle. We have one side of the office that's business and taxes, they know business and taxes. I don't take those phone calls. That's not part of my job. My job is completely separate for that. Now, it's very important as I learn to learn those things, because I need to know, I'm the treasurer. But it's not something you learn from day one, and it's not typically the treasurer's job. So with all of her real estate knowledge, if she moves into the treasurer's office, she will no longer she won't have time to take those real estate calls anymore. She's gonna have an entirely new set of responsibilities that she's gonna have to learn that are very different than just answering real estate phone calls.
Yeah, we got a question over here.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just wondering, I followed both of you a little bit because we've been here for over 11 years. And I realize, Caleb, that you're brand new into this, but I just listened to you talk about things you saved in just 3 months. I also know that when you were in the Register of Deeds office, that you gave yourself a pay raise, and that made everybody else get a pay raise. So that was money going up, this is money going down. So how much is that is gonna reflect if you were to get this job? Because in the 20 years you were there as a career politician, I didn't see you get as much done as what's happened in the last 4 years. A ton has gone down, and done in the Register of Deeds office. And so I'm just wondering what you'd be bringing. I know you have knowledge, don't get me wrong, but you're more of a career politician. So what would you bring to the office besides him bringing actually reducing costs?
Well, first of all, I never gave myself a pay raise. I can't do that. That is something that is approved. The budgets are approved by the Board of County Commissioners. I can't give myself a pay raise. None of us can.
But didn't yours go up right before you guys changed positions? Wasn't yours up? Everybody in your office went up, because then the rest of you switched, it went down again?
Yes, it did go up $4,000 or $5,000, but there was, they did an analysis on, what other current Register of Deeds are making. And so it brought me up to what was comparable to other counties. And, you know, my salary was, I think it was $86,000. The current salary in the Register of Deeds office is $106,000.
So what do you want to, my question was, what are you gonna do to lower costs? Because I've heard what he's done in just 3 months. What do you plan on doing to lower costs?
Well, it's kind of hard to lower costs in the treasurer's office because we're governed by state statutes. And, you know, the only way, you know, we can lower cost is lay people off. There's not, you know, we're not a revenue generating office except for the motor vehicle fund. We have to rely on the general fund to fund our office.
Question here.
This question is for Stacy. I'm one of those that have a problem when people just change their party affiliation to drop the gun. And the reason why is because there is a platform and foundation with the Republican Party that is very specific. So for me as a voter, what's very specific for me is to know where you stand on the issue of abortion. Are you pro-life or are you pro-choice?
I'm pro-life
And how long have you been pro-life?
for a long time.
So when you voted and you were a Democrat, were you pro-life as a Democrat?
Yes,
Okay. And do you know what the party platform is for the state of Kansas? Are you familiar with any of those? Traditional marriage, pro-life, pro-2A, those are things that are important to us. And so when you said that you lean more towards some of the values, what are those values other than border patrol that you bring as a conservative? Because for me as a voter, and I'm sure for the majority of the people in this room, yes, we do appreciate people who know how to do their job, but we also know that anyone getting elected can read a statute and learn how to do that job. We want to know if you carry the same values that we do. And so thank you for answering that question.
you're welcome.
This will be the last question.
So this is for both candidates. Why did you decide to run for county treasurer?
I'm running for county treasurer because I feel like, you know, I'm not done serving the people of Leavenworth County. I, you know, wanted, you know, to bring my knowledge to that office and, you know, I'm very conservative when it comes to budgeting and, you know, I just feel like, you know, I just feel like that office really requires somebody with knowledge and understanding of how county government works.
Given the fact that I believe that there are quite a few Christians in here, I'm going to answer this very, very, very honestly. I'm a Christian, and I believe that the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. 11 days before the election, the precinct committee that replaced Janice Van Perry's, I didn't know anything about it. It was just Becky ran into somebody that told her about it. I found out about it. We talked about it, decided to throw my name in. I didn't think I had a shot. 11 days later, I won by a landslide. In my opinion, God put me here. And if he put me here and he wants me to stay here, I'll be here. Because that's my life. That's how I live my life. That's what I believe in. And, you know, I can only control so much. God's in control. But he put me in here to do a job, and I'm going to do it to the absolute best of my ability. And that's my answer.
Can we have a hand for both of our candidates?